seatbelt on, doors shut and latched. Okay, we're clear across the runway. We are coming off the Gulf of Mexico right now, moving into the mouth of the Rio Grande River, starting a 2,000-mile expedition or journey along the U.S. Mexico border through Texas, then on to New Mexico, Arizona, coming out at San Diego, California. Our mission is to survey and inspect the border fencing and the border security systems all along the way. What all would be involved with trying to build what President Trump has called a big, beautiful wall.
Along much of the border as we were flying along, I didn't know where the border was, especially in Texas, because there is no fence, there's no barrier. The only thing we had to guide us, basically, was inside the helicopter. We had a software system hooked up to our video camera, so I could look at the video screen and it showed a red line delineating where the border is based on GPS markings. The border in Texas follows the Rio Grande, the entire length of the state. It's over 1,200 miles. It's more than half of the entire U.S. Mexico border.
My assignment was to drive the whole extent of the U.S. Mexico border. We started in the Gulf of Mexico. From there, we just headed west. There's some places where you can just walk right up to the river, and there's places where you don't even know where the international border is.
As you fly up this river and you look out over it, the sheer length of it just seems overwhelming. Right now we've got a whole flock of birds taking off on the ground. Looks like vultures. So we are descending now onto what almost certainly is the first sign of a border fence.
There's 650 miles or so of fencing, the whole 2,000-mile border. 300 miles are vehicle barrier. They're not designed to stop human traffic. But what you have is a border that's 2,000 miles long with roughly 350 miles of pedestrian fencing. The rest of it's open, more or less. There's a distinction that's kind of getting lost in the political debate about this whole thing, and that is people are now referring to the fence that exists as a wall, and it's not a wall. The wall that the president has called for is 20 feet at least, and more likely 30 feet tall. The existing fencing at the very highest is 18 feet, much of it's 15 feet, and there's only 300 miles of that.
For me, something that I think surprises a lot of people is that the border, you think of it as this dangerous, dark place that, kind of feels sketchy or that you're afraid to be in. But most of these places are just regular small towns, cities, and if there wasn't a 15, 18 feet fence, next to them, you wouldn't know that you're in the border.
One of the things that was really driven home by this trip was just the immense distances we're talking about, but also the incredible topography. The landscape challenges that exist to building any kind of barrier along much of the border.
This is the Big Bend National Park. It is the largest protected area of Chihuahuan Desert in the country. It's got 118 miles of border with Mexico, and if you're looking out the windows of this chopper right now, you can see just sheer cliffs. It looks like over 1,000 feet easily. Some have suggested the border wall might be built in a place like this. it seems unrealistic because of the topography and the sheer distances. You're looking for scores of miles without seeing anything really.
We're now in the Barry Goldwater Air Force Range. It's a kind of a roller coaster of craggy mountains. The border runs right through them, and we fly up and over them. It's a really parched and desolate desert with fierce heat, little shade, no water. It's maybe one of the most treacherous places to try to enter the United States. Those illegal crossers who choose this kind of route must hike for days to reach roads or some way to get into the United States further. Many of them try, and each year, many of them die.
At the end of our trip, we try to find the site where the prototype border walls were going to be built. It's in an area outside of San Diego. We had a map, and we took a dirt road. We were stopped by Border Patrol. We told them what we were doing. They said we couldn't be there because it's private property, so we had to turn away. And that was the end of our trip.
This is the end of the line. We've been going for 10 days, 1,989 miles or so, 4 states, dozens and dozens of towns. We've covered 653 miles of existing fence. We've seen so far 0 suspected illegal immigrants or smugglers crossing the border, and we've seen 0 people being apprehended by the Border Patrol during this trip. We're now coming up to the Pacific Ocean. Here, a fence goes out to sea, but obviously can't ride the surf, so after it gets out of ways, it stops. Now, the question remains, will a wall get built? Where will a wall get built? What kind of wall will get built? How much it will cost? And what collateral impacts there may be? All those questions remain unanswered. It will be up to Congress, the President, and the American people to decide exactly how all this plays out.